from the Fox 10 Gulf Stream, this is Next Weather.
Thanks for joining us here for Next Weather. Got a couple of things we're going to look at here. Meteorologist Michael White's going to have an update on the thunderstorm count that we've been seeing and will see. And then also we've got an update on the tropics, which is really starting to get going. A couple of invests out there in the open waters of the Atlantic. And what is an invest? For more on that, let's send it over to meteorologist Nicholas Urboso. Nick.
Thank you, Jason. We do have a couple areas that we are tracking right now, areas of investigation from the National Hurricane Center. That's where we get the name Invest. And here they are. We have two that you can see here. One of them has lower chances for development, and one of them, of course, has higher chances for development. So taking a look at it there, you can see one big cluster of thunderstorms in the Caribbean near Jamaica, south of Cuba there. That is going to be moving off to the east, crossing the Yucatan Peninsula. And then we have our higher chance of development. That comes from our system that is in the main development region of the Atlantic. So the one closer to the United States is Invest 94L. Now, based on all the current forecast models and steering patterns, we are not expecting impacts to the United States directly. However, this does have a low chance to develop as it crosses the Yucatan and then gets into the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. Just going to be fighting some shear. There's actually an upper level low pressure system that's actually going to be kind of working with this thing as it crosses the Gulf of Mexico, and that is actually going to be working against it to shear the system. So there is going to be some issues if it wants to actually develop into a tropical system. If it does happen to develop, it would be extremely weak. But regardless of development, we are expecting heavy rain in places like Belize all the way up to places like Cozumel, the Yucatan Peninsula overall, and then even into Mexico with this system, once again, regardless of development. Then Invest 95. This one's really interesting because it is way out in the main development region of the Atlantic. It's been a strong tropical wave that moved off of Africa. It is at relatively low latitudes, but I expect it to gain a little bit of latitude here, and it's actually going to be getting into the Caribbean over the next few days, probably about 4 to 5 days out there. And you can see some of those spaghetti models. They're tightly clustered in that 3, 4, 5 day range. So impacts to the Lesser Antilles, especially the southern Lesser Antilles, places like Barbados, impacts are likely for a tropical storm. We're pretty confident that we're going to get some kind of tropical storm or something out of this within that time frame. But looking beyond that, the proximate position of this thing will be in the Caribbean, the far eastern Caribbean next Tuesday. That'll be the 2nd of July. And beyond that, the forecast is relatively uncertain, but we'll of course keep an eye on it. Main story right now is that folks that are in the Lesser Antilles need to pay close attention to this system. Beyond it, we're going to be keeping an eye on it. I just want to give you a reminder that forecast models really beyond a week can get really, really wild. So be careful what you're seeing on social media, as always with this time of year when we have a system that is out there. Also a little early to see a system like this out there at this time. Typically, tropics in July, you would possibly look at this kind of general area, but this system's all the way out here in the middle of the main development region. So it is a little bit far out to see that kind of thing this time of year, but we do have very warm ocean waters and an unusually favorable environment right now out there. That's what's allowing this thing to develop. And of course, we will be keeping track of it here on Fox 10. Jason?
All right, so we've seen an update there on the tropics, which is really important. It's something that we'll continue to monitor, but also it's been popping and firing with the storms around at times, and you may be wondering what causes these summer storms. Meteorologist Michael White explains.
Jason, the lightning was popping at my house last night. I know that a lot of you watching this episode of Next Weather have heard thunder as a result of these summertime storms. They produce so much lightning. In fact, we get more lightning in the summer than in any other season. But if you're curious about where these pop-up storms come from, why it's so hard to nail down specifics of who's going to see a storm and who isn't going to see a storm, well, we'll talk about that. We'll go through kind of the life cycle of these pop-up summer storms. That's what I'm going to show you right now. So you have warm, humid air here on the Gulf Coast. Okay, well, that warm, humid air is going to rise to a point where it condenses and forms a cloud. That's a hot, humid updraft. We deal with that a lot in the summer. The more humid the air, the bigger the air parcels, and the bigger they're going to reach, the taller they're going to reach into the sky. Well, the cloud grows larger and ready to produce heavy rain. Well, then that heavy rain crushes and cuts off the updraft, and that's when we end up getting a big wind gust or possibly some flash flooding, and then the rain ends and the shower kind of fades away. But the reason why we see so much lightning in the summertime is because we get what are known as towering cumulus clouds in the summer. The cloud tops can get up to 50,000 feet high. The taller the cloud, the bigger the updraft. The bigger the updraft, the more friction the updraft and downdraft are going to go through. More friction is going to result in more lightning. This is also the reason why we have what's known as heat lightning, because the cloud tops are so high. At night, you can see the lightning from tremendous distances. Some people think heat lightning isn't actual lightning. It is. It's just really far away from you, and you end up not hearing thunder because it's so far away. But trust me, if you see lightning flickering, there's a real storm somewhere. It just may not be necessarily close to you. But that's why we see so many of these pesky things over the course of the summer months, and we're going to be seeing them a lot over the next few months. Really, the next I was going to say several weeks, but it's really going to be a good couple of months, maybe even 3 months at most. So I will be on Good Day Gulf Coast tomorrow for your Friday to wrap up the work week. But beginning next week, I know Jason's going to talk about it, a new format on Next Weather, more of a talk show format. I'm looking forward to that. It should be very exciting, and I know he'll have more details on it either tonight or tomorrow. But thank you so much for watching this episode of Next Weather. I look forward to seeing you on Good Day Gulf Coast bright and early tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Thursday night. Jason?
All right, here's that 7-day forecast, and we've got scattered showers and storms in the picture, so be aware of that. Lightning can be a real danger, and they'll be accompanying these storms with heavy downpours, highs in the low 90s through Saturday. The heat builds back in Sunday, Monday, and into next week as we head towards 4th of July. Of course, we're going to be watching the tropics as well. Hey, thanks for joining us here for this edition of Next Weather.